listening to the Terrific Teacherpreneur, a podcast for teachers looking to grow a successful online business. Your host, Alex, was able to transform her Teachers Pay Teachers store from a small side hustle into a profitable full-time business. She now helps other teachers do the same. Listen along for actionable tips and helpful wisdom about business and marketing as a teacherpreneur. Here's your host, Alex.
Hello and welcome to the Terrific Teacherpreneur podcast. Today I wanted to talk about something that I think every seller has experienced at some point. So you create a product, you work really hard on it, you're really excited about it, you think it's really great. It might even have a fairly strong listing, with its thumbnails and solid previews and stuff like that. But then it just sits there. Crickets. Doesn't sell at all or doesn't sell particularly well kind of compared to what you think it should be selling like because you know it's good. And this happens to, like I said, every single seller. Everyone has resources in their store just like this. Sometimes though, this is like a minority thing of just like it's a small portion of your store. For other sellers, it's the majority of your store. And so you are creating a lot of really great resources and you are not seeing that reflected in your earnings. Your sales are not that great, but you've created really great stuff, but you're not making a lot of money. It's frustrating when it happens on a bigger scale like that. So yeah, you just on a product basis though, like just in talking about creating a product that you're really excited about and it just doesn't sell. Meanwhile, another product, maybe one that you spend a lot less time on, randomly takes off and you're like, what? So confusing. Or maybe looking at other people's products, it's the same thing. Like maybe you create a product that you think is really great. Someone else has got something similar out there. Of course, in TPT search, a lot of people are creating fairly similar resources at the end of the day, a similar topic or type of product. And theirs is not even that much more special than yours. Like maybe it's not even as good, or maybe it's just kind of similar. And theirs is selling really well and ranking really well. And it's so frustrating. I think a lot of us assume that good products means you're going to have good sales. Like good quality products equals good sales. And although it's true that quality really matters, honestly, that's not entirely how it works on TPT. I think that one of the biggest differences between products that take off and products that don't is visibility. Like how many people are actually seeing your resource? Because there are definitely a lot of really great products on TPT, like right now, that are genuinely really good resources, but they are buried in super saturated niches or product types, whatever, and they are just not getting traffic. And I think that can be really discouraging as a seller because, we pour so much time into creating our resources. For the most part, we put a lot of time and attention and love sometimes. Like we really do kind of, put a lot of effort in because we really care about what we're doing. We put time into making the actual product and then we put all that time into the description and the previews and the covers and stuff and it can take hours and hours and hours. And then it just kind of feels like that product just disappears into a void. Like it was pointless. Like why did I even bother making that? Because nobody is buying it. It feels like it was all for nothing and that's so frustrating. And I've had products over the years where that's happened and I'm like, why is this one not doing better? I felt so strongly like this one would be so good for students, so helpful for teachers. And then other ones, that they're okay, but they're not that special. I'm like, why did that one do better? It's so baffling sometimes. Honestly though, I sometimes think the answer isn't just that products are bad. I think sometimes it's about the niche, that you're in, being crowded. Product in particular, that product type, topic, subject area, whatever, just people aren't seeing it. There's not enough eyes on it. Again, it could be saturated, competitive. And sometimes I admit myself that I don't put a lot of effort into marketing some of my resources. Like what happens as you grow, obviously, as you get hundreds and hundreds of resources in your store, there comes a point pretty much very quickly after you've made your 20th product where you just don't have the capacity anymore to give equal love and attention to all your products in terms of marketing. Not enough hours in the day to adequately market hundreds of resources. So things kind of just get pushed to the side. And if they're not, ranking well SEO wise, whatever, then there's just no hope for them. It can be really, frustrating. But yeah, marketing, I have to admit, sometimes I don't market some of my resources very well, so I can't be really shocked that they don't sell. But something to really note here is like niches really, really matter. You can have two sellers who have wildly different experiences based on the niches they're in. I heard that something on social media recently about parenting where they said, based on how your child sleeps, you can have a vastly different parenting experience to someone else. Because if they're getting 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep, they're having a very different experience to you. I really related to that because my kids aren't great sleepers. So I've just been sleep deprived for the last 3 years. I'm so tired all the time. And I'm having a different experience to other people. And so, yeah, parenting is not all the same for everyone. And TPT isn't the same for everyone. So a seller who teaches kindergarten and sells kindergarten phonics resources is going to have a very, very different experience on TPT compared to someone who teaches high school. Maybe teaches high school math or something. I don't know. So different because some things are just more competitive on TPT, and the majority of sellers tend to fall in that, pre-K, kindergarten, first, second, third grade, kind of early elementary or just upper elementary, but it's a lot of sellers in that niche. And if you want to go and make a math worksheet for kindergarten or a phonics CVC worksheet for kindergarten, good luck. Best of luck to you. As the young people would say, you're being delulu if you think that that's going to be ranking on page 1 anytime soon. It's wild out there in the early elementary niche, and I know because I have a lot of stuff that's right on in there. So it's hard work, and that's a very, very different experience to someone that's doing high school or something a bit more kind of unique with less people. So no matter what you do, no matter how much SEO you do on some of these resources, you are fighting an uphill battle because it's not going to rank. It's not going to rank against resources that have been around for longer by really established sellers that have 10 gajillion billion views and sales and reviews. Yeah, it's depressing, but I I'm keeping things upbeat here. I'm not saying it's all doom and gloom. Let's all be depressed. Just acknowledging that some niches are really, really competitive. And then what happens in these situations is you have to essentially work a bit harder, which sucks, but you do have to try and get your own traffic a lot of the time. So I know marketing can feel annoying to hear about. I think a lot of us go into TPT because we love creating resources. It's the whole reason we got into it is creating a resource that we could use in our classroom. A lot of that's how we all began. Not because we wanted to be marketers. None of us are really, business marketing type people originally for the most part. But the longer and longer I'm on TPT, I realize that the really, really successful sellers are usually pretty good at marketing. So I have in previous times, asked other sellers how much marketing they're doing, done different polls and surveys and data things. And it's not that they use a lot of marketing platforms. So interestingly, in terms of marketing versus income levels kind of thing, higher earning sellers are not trying to be everywhere. They don't have, 5, 6, 7 different platforms, whatever, or even, 3 or 4. They have 1 or 2 usually, at most. They are consistently doing well at a small amount of platforms instead of trying to juggle 7 different platforms, which is really encouraging because it means that you don't have to be doing them all. I know marketing can feel really overwhelming sometimes. It feels like, should I be posting reels and TikToks and stuff every day, but also emailing every week and also running a Facebook group and having a blog? And should I start a podcast? I don't know. There's a million things you could be doing. It starts to feel like you would need to be a full-time content creator almost instead of actually a teacher business owner. But anyway, I don't think you need to be everywhere. I don't think you need to be overwhelming yourself by marketing on so many different platforms. I actually honestly think it's best to probably just be doing 1, maybe 2 at most, especially not obviously as a brand new seller. But I do think it's important to have some form of visibility outside of just uploading products and hoping people find them if you're in a competitive niche. That's my little caveat. So brand new sellers in their first year, don't feel like you need to be doing any marketing. That's fine. If you're a seller at any point after that and you're in a niche that's not that saturated, when you don't want to do any marketing, fine. That's all good. It's all good. But if you are in something like the niche that I'm in, if you're in the, early elementary area and your resources are just getting buried in search, I do think it's wise to start thinking about getting your own traffic and not just sort of throwing spaghetti at the wall with your product creation and hoping that one of them miraculously takes off. That can feel like a real gamble a lot of the time because it's really hard. So a lot of successful sellers are usually marketing in some way. Maybe they're on social media. A lot of the time, though, they're not, because the polls on Facebook show me that people are not really using TikTok and Instagram that much to get traffic. I recently did one in the Wallflowers group. That was really recently, and it came back as usually always email as the top one. I also asked in my group, people were commenting on that one, so I couldn't say what the top one was, but it was pretty much all Pinterest and blogging for the most part. The top three are always Pinterest, blog, and email marketing. In the main survey we did, I believe the email list again came up top. That was like the official survey we did in the Facebook group. That was not just like a poll in the group. It was another seller, Rebecca, actually put all the data together and everything. Email list came back highest for that one, I think, and Pinterest. They were like the top two, kind of fighting for the top spot. Blogging was just behind, I think. But yeah, something, just to be mindful of. You don't have to really stress about where you're marketing, but you have to kind of do what, feels right to you. But whether you're doing Pinterest, blogging, email, whatever, it's good to not be relying entirely on TPT search because, the whole personalized search debacle in 2022, that really taught a lot of veteran sellers how risky it is just to rely on ranking on TPT. You got some best sellers on page one, great. If they don't stay on page one, if search changes, algorithm changes, all that kind of stuff, poof, it's all gone overnight, in the blink of an eye, very scary. So, it's something to be mindful of. People look at diversifying beyond TPT, that's great too. But either way, just having that mindset of I'm not relying on one thing, I'm not putting my eggs in one basket is a healthy mindset, I think. But yeah, marketing doesn't have to be you doing all the things. It can just be one or two, preferably probably just one, sustainable ways to consistently, get eyes on your products over time. I think that's a good thing to do in the long run if you're running a business, because just relying on uploading products, it gets quite exhausting after a while. I think it's, you get a sales slump and then you're like, oh, I guess I need to think of another new product. And I think you can kind of burn out very easily doing that as your store grows. I think at some point you have to start thinking a bit beyond that. Product creation is super important, don't get me wrong, but also just considering discoverability, asking yourself, how are people finding my products? Where is my traffic coming from? Am I relying on just one source of traffic? Are my older products still being discovered? A lot of these questions really matter. I think it's really important to look at things really honestly and say, okay, well, how are my older products doing, for example? Some of them will continue to do well for years, even if they're not necessarily the fanciest, best products on TPT. But if they're consistently getting seen, if they, go viral on Pinterest or do well on social media or whatever, convert well over email or blog, it can make a huge difference. So the products that tend to grow initially or maintain that growth are getting a lot of traffic, getting a lot of clicks, getting discovered by new people all the time. And I think that's a really big shift in thinking to be mindful of. Instead of always asking, what product can I make next? Also make sure product creation is fine, but just make sure you're also saying to yourself, how do I get more people seeing what I already have? That's really, really important. If I had a big takeaway for this episode, I'd definitely say you do not need to constantly create more products in order to grow your TPT business. You also need to have more visibility for the products that you already have. Like I keep saying, I'm not going to say don't create products. I have to keep adding that in because product creation is really, really important for your sales. But it's just about having that balance. And that's what last week's episode was about. The last episode I did, I talked about navigating the three and making sure you're not neglecting one over the other. All of these things matter. It's just you just don't want to be prioritizing one and then ignoring the other one completely. I mentioned burnout already, but yeah, you want to be sustainable in the way you grow your business, because that hustle isn't really sustainable in the long term. You don't want to be stuck in a cycle of just constantly creating and then getting really burnt out and then feeling like you have no motivation to create anymore, which it can feel like that if you're creating products that aren't selling, and then it feels like, what's the point? So a few things to focus on if you feel like your products aren't taking off is, first, I would look closely at your traffic, because sometimes you can assume that a product is bad, and trust me, it's not. It's just not getting enough views. So look at your data and actually look at how many views it's getting in the average month, or how many views it's had all time. Because a product with really low traffic, even if it has a great conversion, is very different to product that is getting lots of traffic with a poor conversion. Like they're just so vastly different, and not getting views on your resources is one of the biggest things that's going to slow down your sales. You can get more eyes on it. That's great. Also, the second thing I'd say is think about saturation, be realistic. So it doesn't mean that you can't succeed in a competitive niche. You absolutely can. But in really crowded spaces, that visibility really, really matters even more because there are simply more products competing for attention. So you have to be mindful of that. Being a bit realistic, I guess. Not being a pessimist, just being a realist and saying, I am selling first grade math worksheets and this is really insanely competitive. And you have to kind of be honest with yourself about that and accept that you're competing with a lot of other sellers and a lot of other products. So you have to sometimes work a little bit harder and do things a bit differently. You can't kind of coast and just ride a wave of just creating and products just selling without you doing anything. It's just not as easy like that. Well, it used to be like that, but it's not easy like that anymore. And then third, I would just not underestimate the importance of consistently getting your products in front of new people. So I think just fixating too much on product creation and not worrying about discoverability, you're just going to end up with resources that just sit there and never sell. Just try to think about ways you can get eyes on your resource. And yes, SEO is the big one. Making changes to your title, sometimes even moving keywords around. Of course, trying new keywords is probably going to be the most impactful things you can do. But like I mentioned with the, competitive niches, if you're in one, it doesn't matter how much you SEO some resources, you just can't work miracles. And so that's okay. That's where the marketing can come in. So I think one of the biggest differences between products that just sort of sit there and the ones that grow is that you just sometimes really just need to focus on getting more people seeing it. Anyway, I hope this gave you something to think about, especially if you know that you have really good resources and they're just not taking off. Remember, the product isn't bad. The issue is not the product itself. It's simply that not enough people are seeing it. And that is something you have control over, which is really, really good. Okay, so that's it from me today. If you have any questions about marketing, feel free to send me a message on social media or post in the Facebook group or something like that. Always happy to answer any questions you have, and I hope that you have a terrific day.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Terrific Teacherpreneur. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate that effort. Come back for more actionable tips and helpful wisdom in the next episode with your host, Alex. Until then.